Welcome. Namo tassa bhagavato arahato samma sambuddhassa. Namo tassa bhagavato arahato samma sambuddhassa. Namo tassa bhagavato arahato samma sambuddhassa. Buddhaṃ saranang gacchāmi, Dhammang saranang gacchāmi, Sanghang saranang gacchāmi, Dutiyampi buddhaṃ saranang gacchāmi, Dutiyampi dhammang saranang gacchāmi, Dutiyampi sanghang saranang gacchāmi, Tatyampi buddhaṃ saranang gacchāmi, Tatyampi dhammang saranang gacchāmi, Tatyampi sanghang saranang gacchāmi. Try straight away to know whether you're breathing in or out, and to follow the physical manifestations of the breath as they're occurring. Where does your mind go first? Put it there. What is most obvious about the breath? Is there a quality of rest there? So that you can put your mind there for long term. Maybe the abdomen, if you don't have a breath spot you immediately go to. Try and commit to it, a spot, for as long as you can. Attend to it like you're watching a child in a small play area that you've confined to. Make sure it doesn't get outside of that play area. It's not like you don't know what's going on around the room when you're watching over a child. Try and watch that mind that's watching that breath spot. How is it doing today? You feel a sense of wavering, or do you feel a sense of purpose? Do you know why you're here? Do you understand the value of meditating? Of training your mind. Mind precedes all actions. So if you want to purify your conduct, whether in speech, deed, or thoughts, you need to start with the mind. A lot of suffering we cause ourselves is due to the fact that we live a mostly unreflected life. This shouldn't be an opportunity for you to zone out, but an opportunity for you to zone in. It's best not to meditate if you have a daily practice at a time when you're traditionally sleepy. Sometimes you need to give in to that need for rest and have a calmer meditation than usual, but most of the time you should be prodding yourself to stay attentive, stay awake, stay clear. You can start by asking yourself questions. The basic one is, am I breathing in or am I breathing out? Make that first distinction in your mind. Make it a primary one. Make everything relate to the in-breath and the out-breath. Is it easier for you to signal relaxation? Say you have a tight hip or a tight quad, as I do, or is it easier to signal that relaxation on an out-breath? To use your mind to calm that area? Or is it easier on the in-breath? After you've calmed, say, an external area to your breath spot, make sure you either didn't leave that spot in the first place, can allow that in-breath to be the backdrop of whatever you're doing elsewhere in the body. But if you do forget about the in-breath and the out-breath, make sure you come right back. So leave your spot of attention there, your playpen, for a specific purpose, and know when that purpose has been achieved, and come back to that spot. And do that over and over. And you can win. You can make it through an hour without getting distracted. It takes, yes, practice. But it's doable. Word mindfulness appears all throughout the canon. It appears at different stages in different lists. And so it has different functions and for different purposes. It's useful at the beginning of the practice to remember to return to the breath spot. But it's used at almost every other stage, including the active awakening. In fact, a good signal for if your practice has gone awry is if there is some lack of awareness, meaning you sleep, you're falling asleep, or you're numb. So part of our training here is to become more aware of the subtle nature in which the breath manifests itself to us. It's not just this organic sense of breathing in and breathing out that a biologist might define it as. It's how you feel your breath right now, today. And the more relaxed you are, the more you can allow all these different sensations in the body related to the breath to become more connected, or have a feeling of connectedness rather than discontinuity. Pain and stress tends to feel disconnected to other parts of the body, like the body's broken and in pieces. One of the benefits of having a daily meditation practice is that feeling of being reconnected to different parts of your body. In the Buddha's 16 steps of meditating, this comes as the third step. It is breathing in, experiencing the whole breath body, and breathing out, experiencing the whole breath body. And training yourself to do that. This sets you up for becoming mindful of the body as a foundation or a frame of reference. It gives you a different vocabulary for dealing with difficulties, like anger. Instead of looking at it as a thought or a perception, you can feel how the anger alters the breath and how it's held in the body through the breath. Because it's also through that breath body that it's released and let go of. So try and relate everything that comes up back to the breath. So if your mind wanders off, don't say, oh shoot. Ask yourself, at what point in the breath did it wander off? Was it an out-breath or an in-breath? Were there conditions? Are there conditions currently in your breath body, your in and out breathing, that are going to give rise to pain and stress later on, if they're not already doing so now? What can you do to prevent them from arising in the future? Can you breathe in a certain way? Or adopt a certain attitude of the mind, connected with the breath? Try carefulness. The delicate, floating sensation of being carefully aware of the in-breath and the out-breath. Without intervening in that breath at first, just trying to ask yourself what's there today for you. Is there tension anywhere along the breath cycle? The beginning of the in-breath? Is there more tension on the right side, lower side, as the breath is initiated? Or is there more tension on the left? Is there anything you can do to breathe in such a way that balances those two sides? When you tell someone to focus on their breath, they do the Western thing and bear down and scrunch their forehead and make this task more difficult than it needs to be. There is already a good portion of your brain that's devoted to monitoring oxygen and carbon dioxide levels in your blood and body. Try and wake those areas of the brain up and use them to your advantage. When we think of effort in the West, we think of a stressful way of approaching judging how much energy we have and sort of over-efforting. I think when we think of right effort, almost a sense of exertion. But knock that out of your mind. Think of effort here as more the balance of just the right amount of energy input to keep your mind focused, but not to exhaust you in the long term. This is a long-term project. And the Buddha's approach to breath meditation was all about improving your wisdom response time. WRT. So we let ourselves do crazy things, and then we hit ourselves over the head later and we say, why did I do that? Well, this is your chance to improve that time lag, keep your mind quick enough to stay up with your planning of your actions, your intention to do things, the performance of that action, and the result of that action. Some people like the idea of a certain action, it's pleasurable. They don't actually like the action itself. And sometimes it may make them feel good or not feel good. But a lot of what we call pleasure is the anticipation of an action. Now's your chance to really observe. all three layers, all three temporal zones of one action. So that's the carefulness you want to bring to each breath. Sort of like if you had a lever in your mind for pleasure and one for pain, one for neutral. You actually do have the power to shift things towards more pleasurable meditation. Following the breath with carefulness, heedfulness, all the way along the in-breath and all the way along the out-breath. And practicing with right effort, that means being on the lookout for things that you're doing now that may cause suffering in the future, and changing those things and dropping them, and seeing things that you're doing that may cause happiness and pleasure in the future, and keeping those going. And if you're already doing something that's harming yourself, like, oh, stupid me, this feeling that you have from this morning, or, oh, why am I so tired today, or I should have eaten better yesterday, or just drop all those things. That's also part of effort here. It's a sort of immediate wisdom that's applied directly to whatever is occurring in your mind right now. And it's related to the breath because when you develop a whole body sense of the breath, you can use that knowledge to drop things, encourage things, keep them going, prevent other things from arising. So instead of constantly being stressed out and looking for something, it's, can I get a continuous sense of smoothness in the cycle of in-breathing and out-breathing? And anything that sort of disrupts that, can you drop that? Can you shift your attitude? If you do find a smooth breath, just putting your mind carefully in attendance to that, Buddha says close to it, will cause that pleasure from the physical aspect of the breath to sort of infuse the mind. And the mind will take an imprint of that sense of comfort and openness, and it'll be reflected in the mind. And when the mind takes on that sense of comfort and fullness and contentment, just from the act of breathing, it creates like a barrier, like a raincoat. Today it's a rainy day, so I'm thinking of raincoats, but it creates a barrier between you and the world. So other people's anger and excess desires and general craziness doesn't work its way into you. And that's a verifiable thing that you can test. That's something you don't have to take my word for. But we're talking about the question, why are you here, when you first sat down? And it helps to remember every time you sit, to recall the insights that you've had and what has inspired you in this path, and what can I do to maintain that inspiration and that energy to keep this path of mental training going, despite a world around you that is discouraging you from doing that. The world around you wants you a little needier than you really need to be. You're a better consumer when you're needier. Doesn't mean you're a better friend just because you're shaken when your friends are shaken. Sometimes you're a better friend when you're stable and you can calm your friends down and give them some calm wisdom from your point of view. The Buddha rarely said should. You should do this, you should do that. One example where he said should was that you should take care of yourself first. In the example of the two acrobats, that head acrobat said to his assistant, okay, you look after me and I'll look after you. And the assistant said, no, I'll look after myself and you'll look after yourself, and in such a way we'll take care of each other. And the Buddha said the assistant was right. And you should try and adopt that view. So make your heart stable and centered in this practice. And the world around you will become a better place. And people can look to you and rely on that strength that's flowing from this careful attention to the breath. And keep it going from moment to moment. Turned into a little bit of a talk on right effort because Amy was asking about it. I'm hoping it inspires you to stay attentive to the in and out breath. Sometimes that's all the guidance you need. It's a little bit of inspiration. Putting things back in context. So let's sit in silence and enjoy the help we're offering each other in each other's company today. Just because we're starting with getting our own mental world correct right now, we're taking time out, doesn't mean that we're neglecting others. We're helping each other right now in a collaboration or mental training with an understanding of its extreme importance. So carefully watch each in-breath and out-breath. Be creative, be rigorous at the same time without exhausting yourself. Be creative to find solutions. What can I do today to keep my mind focused on the breath? Should I count the breath? In one, out one, in two, out three. Or are the sensations enough to wake my mind up and refresh it? Or is this context of the importance enough for me? Should I continue this chat with myself for 2 more minutes about how this practice in mindfulness and concentration can improve my life? The Buddha said, there are 2 stories about how the Buddha became enlightened. One is that he started with right resolve or right thinking, thoughts of renunciation, thoughts of goodwill, and thoughts of harmlessness. And another says he just started right in and right concentration, but they're compatible. Either way, he started with a thinking practice. What am I doing right now that is for my benefit, my non-affliction, the benefit of others, and the benefit of both? And if I am doing that, then I can keep it going. How can I keep it going? So make a resolution or a resolve to yourself to be careful in a way and attentive in a way that is harmless, that drops the world around you. It's not that you don't care anymore, it's just what you're doing now, attending to the breath, is of supreme importance. And what can I do that about attending to the breath that exhibits my goodwill, my wish for my own happiness? And what am I doing against that wish? Can I drop it? So it's wrong to call that the Buddha taught a method. Where you start, it's not 1, 2, 3, it's where you start depends on what you notice, how you're suffering today, and how creative or rigorous you are in getting around it. So begin where you're at with the in-breath and the out-breath, and attend to things as they arise. You become aware of them. Study them. Watch how these distractions arise, enter the mind and stay. What holds them there? How do you release them? These are some of the questions and approaches that lead to mental training. At least the type of mental training that leads to full release from suffering, enlightenment, nirvana. Take your mind back to the breath. When a sound arises, where does your mind go? If you're not truly feeding off of the pleasures of the present moment, your mind will create an image of the sound and you'll have a mental reaction to the sound until you remember to bring it back to the breath. So it's merely a way of letting you see your mind more clearly and what you're feeding off of. The mind needs food too. Let it feed off of the pleasant, comfortable sensations of the breath. Stop running. One of the most important things you can focus on if you're developing your mindfulness is to stop running. If you're human, you're running. If you're honest, you'll admit it. You're running for new pleasures, new desires. You're running from pain. We run from confusion, ignorance, fear of knowing the truth. We run for so many reasons. We run constantly and so much we forget we're running. So be the one right now that doesn't leave, that stays. Sit with whatever's in your heart and connect it to the breath. Soothe it, stay behind. Don't run off to new adventures in your mind, hankering after perceptions or lamenting the loss of past perceptions. That's all it is now, is perceptions, invading your awareness of your breath. Just stay close to the breath. Commit to that feeling of being a loyal friend. With mindfulness well developed, you'll never be alone. It's that perfect harmony of a piece of the mind that's with what is ever happening in the body, or in the mind. Just keep it connected to the breath, the sensation of breathing. So you can drop the unskillful use of that intention and develop the skillful ones. So keep your mindfulness close, like you'd keep your best friend close. Bring your mind back to the breath. Sharpen the clarity if you're already there. improving your mindfulness is to become aware of the state your mindfulness is in. If you spend time with your best friend, you would know whether they were sick or ailing or feeling great. Spending this time with your mindfulness of the breath, how is your mind that's trying to be mindful? Is it tired, sick, and ailing, or is it energetic and wise, attentive to the smallest details? There's a feeling of refreshment there. Where are you on that spectrum? Where is your friend? Is there anything you can do to increase the overall energy in the body and the overall health in a way that's connected with the in-breath and the out-breath? You reinitiate that feeling of breathing in an open, relaxed manner, so that all the different pieces of your sensations of the breath throughout your entire body, from the tip of your toes to the top of your head and down throughout your fingers, all those feelings connected. Is there a breath sensation that needs calming down? The tightness in the heart, the hip, an area in the lung or the organs. Can you breathe in such a way that releases that tension? You can do body sweeps, treating your body as if it's an empty vessel and only breath sensations can pass through it. You can scan down one leg, down to the foot, down the other side, down to the foot. Becoming aware of any areas where you're holding tension. Can you release them? The body is feeling smooth and connected. Just keep your mind at your rest spot. Allow those feelings to energize that closeness, that concentration at the breath spot. Your mind is feeding off of this comfortable breathing, these comfortable sensations. It's not hankering after distractions. The mind can set aside distractions, hindrances to concentration. And if the mind is aware of each in-breath and out-breath, you can be said to be practicing right mindfulness. That is fulfilling your duty. Of decreasing suffering and increasing your happiness. Preventing future unhappiness from arising. It's a good use of your time. Something to be proud of. That thought can make you so joyful. It increases energy and joy. And the contentment of being full. As the Buddha says, you can gladden your mind in order to concentrate it even further. You can gladden it by taking up themes that are connected to the breath. Can you breathe in and out in a way that's even more skillful, that's leading to a sense of harmlessness, to your benefit, to your health? Can you drop a sense that you don't have enough? You need to accumulate more experience. Drop any resistance to whatever you're experiencing. Can adopt a sense of non-resistance. By wishing yourself well. May I be happy. May I be free from stress and pain. May I be free from animosity. May I be free from oppression. May I be free from troubles. May I live happily and at ease. Understanding that wish with wisdom means that you're engaging your life with wise action. You're taking on the duty of scanning your mind-body continuum for stress, looking for its cause and dropping it. Using the techniques of the path, the Noble Eightfold Path. Once you feel more gladdened with the breath, can you extend your mind to the world around you without dropping your sense of presence and awareness of your breath sensation? Can you share these thoughts of goodwill with everyone in this hall, in this Buddha hall, in this monastery? Can you adopt a mind of non-division, of inclusiveness? And can you extend this wish of goodwill to all beings, reaching out around the planet, cosmos, in all dimensions? May all beings be happy. May all beings be free from animosity. May all beings be free from oppression. May all beings be free from trouble. May all beings live happily and at ease. you commit to taking these friends with you out into the world, these friends of mindfulness and these friends of good thoughts for yourself and others. If you wanted to create a mental habit, this would be a good one. How do you generally create new habits? Practice. Whenever you can. You don't need an altar or a specific room in the house. You can sit at a chair in your house and practice in this way. Try and make a new resolve for your practice today. Make a new resolve every day. That's why the Buddha asked us to reflect on aging, illness, and death among the 5 recollections. None of us know when we're going to go. If this were your last day, how truly would you like to spend it? Being good to yourself and others? Performing these duties of releasing suffering, becoming aware of it, investigating its cause, creating a good environment for others to grow and develop, and putting good habits into your mind. Wish you all a speedy and happy path to full release from suffering and nirvana. I wish that you find the persistence and the strength to keep these good thoughts going for as long as you can.